'Twas the eve before Christmas, the children abed. If they knew what was coming, they'd be shaking with dread. The lists had been tallied in the season of ice, and it sadly reported more naughty than nice. Santa was resigned. He found no more joy in the production of toys for bad girls and boys. He loudly proclaimed, "I'm packing it in. I'll bring in a ringer more familiar with sin." The statement was issued across both land and sea, and was answered with laughter filled with malevolent glee. He sprang from the earth like a demonic gopher in a noxious miasma that reeked mostly of sulphur. Out of this cloud came the sum of all fears, Santa's vile double, the darkest of mirrors. He had a prominent beard, and was clad all in red, but he was strongly contrasted by the horns on his head. His raiment consisted of a bedraggled coat, and he had the misshapen legs and hooves of a goat. With a rattle of chains he literally flew, for no one denies the Krampus his due. His passage was not marked by celestial singing, but his arrival was foreshadowed by ominous ringing. He reached the town square, and he began to cavort the various misdeeds he was happy to report. He pulled out a list that had been sealed in blood. It rolled to the ground with an ominous thud. "Cody," he said, "you hold all the blame for why the town church went up in a flame. Marcy, you are the shame of your peers. You scream at your mother and leave her in tears. Xander, you vile and malodorous chimp. You are the reason your dog walks with a limp." And so he continued through much of the night, each child in turn protesting their plight. Still he continued, his will was unbending. They went into a sack that seemed never ending. Finally, it ended. He had all the doomed. By the night's end, they'd all be consumed. He'd use a birch rod, both supple and slender, to ensure that the children were succulent and tender. He left with his victims, their fate was most dire, and he went to a realm filled with lakes of fire. So, remember all this when you next hear a bell. It's no angel bewinged, but a passage to hell.